Our fantasy football punishment will be doled out today. Stay tuned for that. Plus, a recap of UND's thriller at K-State, and we look ahead at one of the games of the weekend in high school football. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the anniversary edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL, good morning, everybody in Sioux Falls. KMBN in Western South Dakota. And Inforum.com. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Hump Day. September the 3rd, 2025. Ready to rock and roll. Already halfway through the week. It happens, say it every time. We got a holiday on Monday. Means we just elevate everything up. By the time we get to Wednesday. Good morning, everybody. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show. Welcome to Hot Mike on a beautiful Wednesday morning, the third day of September 2025. The third day of September is a big one for us here. And I'm going to spend more time on this before we wrap today. But 6 years ago today, we signed on the air. Right over where Eric is sitting now, that was our old radio studio because we were exclusively on the radio to start doing Hot Mic on 970 when we still owned the radio signal. And we did it on the radio exclusively from September to the following February, I want to say February 2020. And then we made the jump to simulcast. We were on television and on the radio, which was a challenge. And we did that for another 8 or 9 months, and then we went strictly to television the following November of 2020. And to say I'm sitting here today, and it's 2025, and we've done this now for 6 years, is amazing. It's fantastic, and I'll save the rest of it for later because we put a little montage together. I think people will enjoy some of our favorite moments just from the past year. And I'm something I'm immensely proud of and could not be more thankful of for the people that decide to spend their mornings partly with us or go back and watch it again or listen to it. That is pretty darn cool. So I'll save that for later on the show, but we're pretty pumped about that today. We got a lot to get to today. I mentioned we're doling out punishment today. It is the retribution, because this is now our 4th year of our fantasy football extravaganza, that the punishment for finishing in last is you have to come on the show and explain why and offer a apology to do that. So that will be doled out coming up here in just a little bit of time. You could say punishment in love is watching the Twins play baseball these days. And apparently, nobody wanted to go. We'll show you that coming up in just a few minutes. I mentioned also we'll get into UND's opener with Kansas State. I know Sam talked about that on Monday's show. We'll look ahead to the game with Portland State, which Portland State hasn't scored a point yet this season. We'll preview that with our guy Tom Miller coming up in our second hour. And it is Bison Media Zone Wednesday. Mike McFeely will join me this morning at 10:35 to give us a look ahead to the trip to Nashville, Tennessee State, and what awaits the Bison as they are hoping this is the first of 2 trips to Music City, obviously with the FCS National Championship game being played there in January. That's coming up later on in the show. We will start with a couple of snippets from yesterday's press conference with Tim Polasek, and this is going to center not on Tennessee State, because he said it, and if you watched it live here yesterday on WDAY Plus or Inforum.com, they have 83 new guys. So not going to sit here and pretend that he knows a ton about the Tennessee State Tigers. They have a new head coach. Reggie Barlow is their coach, who comes from the United Football League. He coached the D.C. team prior to being hired that Eddie George left in March. He got the job in Bowling Green late in the deal there. And Tennessee State hired Reggie Barlow to take over. He's got an intriguing staff. Greg Williams is his defensive coordinator. Greg Williams with 2 G's. Bounty Gate guy, who was former defensive coordinator, won a Super Bowl with the Saints when they beat the Vikings in the NFC Championship game back in 2009. So there is that swirling around it. To sit here and tell you I know everything about this team would be a mistake, I don't. Even the guys that we got to know last year when we televised the game, it is a brand new roster. So that, you're not going to hear from Polisic here. I picked a couple snippets of his press conference yesterday, speaking about this experience, another destination game. Last week was that, so to speak, with Charleston. Obviously, the Bison have done this before with the trip to Minneapolis 2 times over to play at Target Field and at US Bank Stadium. And now to a spot where this has become a tourist destination is Nashville, Tennessee. So Polisic was asked a question by Kolpak and then myself about destination games and potential crowd that the Bison may see when they get down to Nashville on Saturday.
I think you guys may ask some questions about some of these other games coming up. Todd Phelps, for our fan base, and they're behind us, but there are fans, I get questions like, well, why don't we just go play Iowa? Or why don't we play this, that, or the other thing, right? His job is really hard to find these games. And I've gone to him multiple times and said, I think it's really cool to play these destination spots. And our fans responded. And as long as they appreciate it and we're willing to bring on the competition wherever and however, let's go do it.
About 8,900. Matt was telling me there could be 10,000 Bison fans. You anticipate this maybe a quasi-home environment Saturday?
I am. I threw that tweet out yesterday on purpose just to kind of see the response. But just based on the I've run into far more people that have said, hey, we'll be down there, or we're going to both, than I have like, well, Coach, why would I do that? And then I think there's some people in the community that are kind of scrambling around to see if they can't make something happen here on short notice. It's a good city. We're excited to go down there, and I think our fans, to Jeff's question earlier, I mean, this is cool. Let's get out of the region. Lake Country's over now, as far as I understand, and let's go see a ball game. And I know our people with Team Makers and Matt Larson and his team, they have some good events scheduled on Friday night. I'm excited for it. I would hate to guess at the number. I think we were all kind of guessing at Citadel, 1,500, 1,200. I think that was there, if not more.
So I went through, this is last year, that Nissan Stadium is the home of Tennessee State football. Obviously the home of the Titans, which seats 60,000 people. This is the next to last year of it. Right next door, for people that are going or are going to watch our pregame show on Saturday, you'll see the new stadium going up right next to it. But they played 5 home games last year. These are the numbers they got in terms of people going to the games. Mississippi Valley State, the home opener, at 8,124 people there. Charleston Southern, 1,853. Eastern Illinois on October the 12th at 10,715. UT Martin drew 2,800, and SEMO drew 2,700 people. That is cavernous. I mean, you can see just some of the camera shots here from this is the past Saturday's game when they took on North Carolina A&T, and there's nobody there. Now, I know Bison fans have already gotten some emails that their seats have been relocated because for the amount of fans that are going to be there, they've actually relocated the Bison behind their bench, which I believe is the TV side, which would be fantastic because then you'll actually see people in the stands that would be there, but they don't draw. So this, depending on if they get the number that they are anticipating, which is somewhere around 10,000, that's going to feel huge compared to what's normally in there. Now, I was looking back, the Eastern Washington game at US Bank Stadium, and we talked plenty about that in the lead up, that the ticket sales were just not there. I think got 22,000 ended up being just over that for U.S. Bank Stadium. And obviously Target Field did amazingly well, had 34,000 there. That we're not going to get that. But if they get in that number around 10, on top of what Tennessee State might bring, it might be fill that lower bowl at least at Nissan Stadium. I'd be really interested to see what the turnout is. It's a different city. As Politics said, it's a good city. I've never been. I know Eric's been a couple times. Many others that around our area have made it. It's now a direct stop here from Hector. It's a place that's on the to-do list to go to. You add that with what Vegas is in a couple years, these are the spots that people go to now. So we'll see. I'm awfully interested to see what the buildup is as we get closer to game and to see people actually there. And if they hit that number, that's pretty darn good. Because there are seats available at Nissan. We did this yesterday. Stace and I were looking at the on-campus facility there. There's a reason why they play at Nissan Stadium. I'll just leave it at that. Now, the flip side of attendance, you got to be good for people to come out. The Minnesota Twins are not good. We have a couple. We're going to get to the crowd here in a second. I'm forced to. You could shoot a cannon through there last night as they faced the White Sox, and this is just typical of what's going on. Guy tagging up, and then what are you doing? What are we doing on the base pass? They get a run and yet still get thrown out. That's bad baseball to a T. And they got teed off again. Down 5-3. That ball is crushed from Kyle Teal to make it 6-3. Andrew Benintendi absolutely hammers this. He's living rent-free on the Twins this year. 406-foot, 3-run shot. I don't even know some of these guys that they were throwing out there last night. Noah Davis, for some reason, is still on the team. White Sox fans had to love it. They won 12-3 last night over the Twins. The game is secondary, as they've lost 7 out of 10. It was Bark at the Park night last night. You couldn't even hear the dogs in the broadcast last night. The Twins announced a paid crowd of 11,721. Bobby Nightingale, who works for the Star Tribune, posted this photo on Twitter last night, right when the game was getting started. And you'll see here, it is a rather sparse crowd at Target Field. They announced it was the smallest September crowd in Target Field history. There are scores of sections that there's nobody there. Look at the outfield. There's nobody there. Look at the upper deck in the top left corner of your screen. It was 75 degrees last night. And I get it, school started, but this is terrible. Apparently, there were 300 dogs in the crowd last night. Well, you couldn't hear them. This is now cinched up the smallest crowd in Target Field history for the season, for what happened. They're going to have their worst attended season since the ballpark opened in 2010. And there's no surprise to this. They traded away the entire team at the deadline. We mentioned this, that who's going to go to the games once we get to September? Well, here we are. It's September 3rd, and nobody's there. The Twins drew 10,000 fans. It was April 14th. I think we showed that one earlier this season. They were not good to start the year. But that was bad. And they play again tonight. Another night game tonight, and it's going to be colder tonight. Can't wait. That might be even worse than what we saw last night at Target Field. It's sad, but this is the state of affairs around the baseball team now. It's come down to now it's almost like car accident watching. It's like rubbernecking. You got to go and look because it's so bad. We have a packed day coming up for you here on this Wednesday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy Drew Trafton will join us in just a few minutes. He'll be joined by Scott Engen, WDAY First News anchor, diehard Broncos and Jackrabbits fan. He is here because he finished last in our Hot Mike Fantasy League last year, so retribution is he has to tell us why. That's coming up here in just a few minutes. Looking forward to that. At 9:35, Tyler Kosel will join us, Fargo South head football coach. The Bruins have a big one coming up on Friday night. They'll take on Minot North, a game you'll see right here on Extra. Looking forward to that. We'll preview that, chat about his football team coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Tom Miller is back with us. He was down in Manhattan, get his recap of UND's opener at K-State and some surprises out of that, and looking ahead to the home opener Potato Bowl weekend up in Grand Forks. They take on Portland State. We'll do that at 10. Again, to mention, it is Bison Media Zone Wednesday, and we'll get into that coming up at 10:35. A look ahead to the Bison matchup and some of the other highlight games in FCS football for Week 2. So that's what we got rolling here as we officially celebrate 6 years of doing Hot Mic here on WDAY. We'll take a break. We're off and rolling. We're glad you're joining us. Back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KNBN, and Inforum.com.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
All right, here we are, Wednesday morning. Guys done the show. It's 6 years today we started. You've 6 years. So
Man.
You've done it since we started.
Yeah,
so
how
I
time
appreciate
flies.
that
Well,
when we were
thanks for
doing
having
it
me.
right over in the old radio studio when we started doing the show. So here we are on TV. And you brought with you a special guest for today, your
of course,
segment here.
Yeah, so as loyal viewers for the last 6 years may know, we have a fantasy football league here with Hot Mike. And we have unique punishments that are doled out to our last place finisher, which have now a long track record and are just so much fun. So our last place finisher has their team name chosen by the rest of the league.
I had that. That was lovely.
And their first draft pick is chosen by the rest of the league, which is diabolical,
that's
first
mean.
of all.
There's no doubt about that.
And this punishment, which our viewers will get to participate in today, I think is probably the most traditional of fantasy football punishments, but it's a full reckoning of why our last place finisher finished the way they did, and an apology to you viewers for having to suffer through that abysmal performance. And but I do want to caveat this before we toss to our last place finisher by saying last year was kind of unique because there was a whole clump of us right at the bottom.
Yeah, there was definitely a few that could have finished last.
That last week, I think there were 4 of us, maybe 3 or 4 of us who were still in the running for that last place spot. And so we sweated it out.
This could have been Henson. I don't know. We couldn't have got this done in 15 minutes if Matt was here. There's no doubt. You know, we'd have to blow this out. You barely missed out.
Barely. I
barely missed out.
Worst. Yeah.
Imagine if Pointer almost got it for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
We'd have to combine something for finishing
enough, even
2 years
with
in a row.
the whole league picking the person's first draft pick. No one has finished last in consecutive
Correct.
years.
That's I appreciate. We have great parity in our league.
Yes.
Scott Engen, unfortunately, has finished last.
Oh, man.
You were telling me before you were in how many different leagues?
5.
Holy
5 leagues.
cow.
I get into the fantasy football world very deeply, probably too deeply for my own good. And so when I lose a league like this, quite humbling for me.
Yes, because you've done it. I think you've done it every year we've done this, right?
I've been in it a few years
Yeah,
now.
so-
But there's only so much bandwidth that you can have across 5 leagues.
Yeah.
I'm in,
But
like
he comes
4,
in with
and
notebooks.
yeah.
He's prepared. It's not like
Yes.
I do it. Like, I'm going to draft, a guy that I know.
Our first league, you
It
picked
did not
the
go
first
out,
year. You
did not
picked
go so well.
a team that would have been great like 6 years.
Yeah, I drafted
before
Adam
that.
Thielen. How'd that work out? So I ended up finishing last. Just real quick before yours is not like Bobby last year. I don't know if you saw. He had it was framed. He did. I mean, he went above and beyond for his on-air apology. Just real quick for your draft last year, we went back and looked. Your first pick was CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
You had the second overall pick last year. You took CeeDee Lamb. Not great.
We'll talk about him.
Travis Etienne was your second pick.
Yep.
Not great.
No.
Chris Olave for the Saints, right? Doesn't he play for the Saints? Not good. Brandon Ayuk and DJ Moore. That were your first 5 picks last year.
Of all of those, DJ Moore was probably the best one, which is why I'm in last. And injuries, man, are just tough in fantasy football. And in this league, I think he only had 4 bench spots, too.
Correct.
So the bench wasn't
we
deep.
have 10 of us in the league. So
And it just becomes tough when your guys get hurt like that, and then you take a couple swings and they miss, and all of a sudden you find yourself giving an apology speech.
There is an adage that I've come to live by when it comes to fantasy football, and it's like draft players from good teams.
Yes.
Like that's a safe way to do it, like a safe floor. And you gambled last year.
Now, you're a diehard Broncos fan. Do you stay away from Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers? Do you subscribe to that theory at all? Because I do as a Jets fan. I never, when Brady was a Patriot, like I'm not doing it. I don't care.
I
don't care if he's there.
If the floor gets low enough where they're just sitting there in a later round, I will take one of those guys, but I will not be prioritizing Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I mean, Rashee Rice, obviously he's suspended now. Pacheco, those types of guys. I will take some Raiders in the past, but then it's even worse if the teams that you don't like, those guys come back and burn you in the end for not being good. So then it's like a double whammy of like, I don't like this guy and he still stinks. So I attempt to avoid those players. I also usually avoid taking Broncos so that I don't have to like have any type of rooting, for
it's
other
a double
teams
the pleasure,
like
double
that.
the pain sort of thing with that
exactly.
too. Yeah, that flips on its head.
All right, you ready to roll here?
I got my speech ready to go, and we're ready when you are.
All right. Without further ado, Scott Engen addressing why he finished last in the Hot Mike Fantasy Football League last year.
All right. I, Scott Thomas Engen, apologize for my fantasy football performance last season. I deeply regret my choices. I vow to learn from my mistakes and come back as a better manager this season.
This is very serious.
I am sorry for the Dallas Cowboys. The Big D in Dallas is not for Dallas. It is for disappointment. In my case, it is CeeDee Lamb. I took him number 2 overall after Bobby's punishment pick, and he was terrible. He came back from the holdout, and he let me down. I'm sorry for Brandon Ayuk. He fell in the draft, and I fell for his trick. He stunk before he blew out his knee, and then he was obviously worthless. I am sorry for believing in the Jaguars. I had high hopes for Travis Etienne to be my workhorse running back, and he was just a liability. He did almost nothing and pretty much lost his job to Tank Bigsby. This after having, I think, a top 5 fantasy season the year before. I am sorry for falling for the trap that is Kyle Pitts. I fell for his charm.
I did that a couple years ago.
I still don't know how this guy isn't good. He's 6'6" and runs like a 4.3, and he's a tight end. How is he not good?
So much. I love this.
I am sorry for thinking Brock Purdy is a number 1 fantasy quarterback option. He may have gotten paid in real life, but he certainly did not help me last year. I waited to take a quarterback because I thought he would be a solid starter. He was not. I am sorry for trying to save my season with a bad trade. I moved CeeDee Lamb later in the year once he finally started playing better for Zay Flowers and DK Metcalf. Alas, that did not work. So, what have I learned? Don't trust stars who hold out. Dallas is dead to me. No Cowboys this year. Do not rely on the Jaguars. They have what appear to be diamonds, but they are just cubic zirconia.
Oh, wow.
And my final reason, don't pass on a stud quarterback because you're trying to outsmart the system.
Oh,
that was
great
very
job,
good.
Scott.
That was very good. Yes,
that was
excellent.
a thorough accounting.
Excellent. Yes.
I was crying. I love that so much. I get so much joy out of that. I don't know why. There's something wrong with me.
It hurt me to read that. And
how long have you been working on this, most importantly?
Not too long, but I definitely put some thought into it. I wanted to really reflect on why I ended up where I'm at. And I don't want to be back here again. You said no one's repeated.
No one has done that. No.
And I intend to continue that trend.
We have had, so I did it the first year, which I think people think that was planned, and obviously why it wasn't. On my part, I finished last our
we
first
had a pretty
year.
good feeling that might happen, though, right after the draft. We're like, Don did not do a good job.
They give the grades, and I'm pretty sure I got a D.
Ooh. Yeah.
Although I don't think which is apropos for how I did in school, but I was like, this ain't going to go well. I think Bobby felt pretty good on his draft, and it didn't go so well, and, here we go. So, all right, fantastic.
Yeah, well done.
That was really good. We're going to have our actual draft coming up later today, so I'm very excited about that. Dylan's been bugging me out. Don't forget me. I'm like, we're not going to forget you, I promise.
I'm worried about it.
Give me your thoughts on the. You're a Jackrabbit guy, obviously you're alum. What'd you make of SDSU's opener on Saturday night?
Overall, I thought they looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Sac State is a team that people find formidable, and they played pretty well, except turning the ball over.
Yeah.
3 fumbles, I think.
That go offense
You
of
gotta
theirs wasn't
clean
so
that
go.
up.
No, Sac State, guys, they found out exactly.
Yeah, they know where they
what
stack
the deal
up
is.
now.
Right, it's just
Exactly.
overhyped.
And that wasn't even like a good offensive performance from
No,
the Jackrabbits.
the Jacks,
really.
no,
Like when they
left
get
a lot
in a
out
rhythm,
there.
like
yeah.
Sac State's not going to hang.
Mason
at
gets
all.
sacked 7 times in the game.
Something
and
like
that was
that.
more. Some was offensive line. I think the other was him holding on to the ball.
Yeah,
too
trying to make
long
plays.
on what was going on there. I'm really interested. Drew and I have talked about this. I think for a month for the game this Saturday night.
Oh
going to Bozeman is going to be a heck of a challenge for him.
Yeah, it is. That's going to be kind of that litmus test of where are they right now, because obviously so many new places with faces and in different spots and all those types of things. So I'm interested to see how they play in Bozeman as well. This is a real test. A lot of different pieces. I think they're going to be okay and still be a formidable team.
I
But
do
you
too.
You got to cut down on those turnovers, and we got to see some better play from Chase Mason overall as a passer.
Because
The Bobcats were like, I mean, you couldn't take anything away from their game against Oregon, really.
So we were talking about that over the weekend and into the week about both Montana State and Iowa and South Dakota, how they got destroyed. If you were a quality FCS team, I don't think you can lose by 40.
No,
I just don't think you can. And I know who Montana State played. They played Oregon.
Right.
South Dakota played Iowa State.
They did that a few years ago though and made it to the title game.
Yeah.
When they lost to NDSU, the Cats. But I mean,
I just don't
they've
know.
lost so much in their offensive
Everybody
line.
did. South Dakota did.
Yes.
The Jacks did.
Yes.
Montana State did. I don't know if you can. To me, if you can lose by that much and still be,
I just don't know what school is stepping up to.
the
fill
only
that
one is
void.
Tarleton State so far. Tarleton is, and they got to.
Yeah, I know that they moved up in the polls. I'm just
They did.
I don't.
And they're not going to
that
play.
yet.
They're not going to play anybody in the regular season,
right?
In their league,
They could go-
they're not going to play anybody in the Big Sky. They're not going to play anybody in the Valley until we get to the postseason.
They
and
could be
figure that
one of
out.
those like paper tigers where you get
Could
to
be.
the playoffs and it's like second round rolls around and it's like, ooh,
Yep.
you get a Missouri Valley team and
Yep.
like lights out. Good night.
Yeah, it's hard to judge on
Yeah.
that. That's why, and like even for the Jacks, like after Saturday's game, they play Drake and Mercyhurst. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not going to get a
No.
full read on SDSU after that.
No, you got to wait a little longer in the season to see what some of these teams look like. Montana State, I mean, we'll see because of the things that you guys just said.
Yeah, and the Cats don't play anybody either after
No.
Saturday night. So
And so we'll see with the Jacks. I'm hoping with a couple of those games that we'll call easier games, they can really find their footing with all the new pieces. And once we get towards the latter part of the season, be ready to roll.
You know what game I'm really curious about now is UND Montana because that with how UND played
Yeah,
against Kansas
I'm with
State,
you. Yep.
I'm like, that could be
Yep.
like that could tell us. I probably will tell us more about Montana than UND, like in terms of where they stack up. But it's like that. The Fighting Hawks are going to come into Missoula and they're not going to be intimidated by the crowd.
They
if
play
handle.
Portland State Saturday night. UND does.
Yeah.
Portland State hasn't scored a point
No,
yet, so they're going to win.
awful.
They're going to win
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
So
What'd you guys make of UND almost pulling that one out?
really impressed.
That was
I
good.
was really, really impressed with
Totally
what
impressed.
they did. Kaminsky was better than I thought. They still got some work defensively to do, but I knew Eric Schmidt would have them be better. I just wasn't sure how that would quantitate to how many wins it would be. Maybe it's 6, maybe it's 7. UND fans have already let me know I was off on my preseason pick, which is fine. But they were impressed. Let's see it. They had all summer to get ready for that. Let's see it going forward. The game in Missoula is the big one for me.
That's a huge litmus test.
If they go and either win
Yeah.
or play really well, then that will change my expectations of what could happen in the Valley. I totally believe that because the Jacks go to Grand Forks and the Bison go to Grand Forks this year. So that could, and it, both at the end of the year. The SDSU game's at the end, and the Bison game is 2 weeks before that. Will be loud. Will be fun if they're relevant by then. Look out!
Big games.
It'll be crazy. All right, we got to roll. Who do the Hawks have this weekend? Who the Seahawks got?
They got the 49ers, so it's a
Rivalry game to start.
It's going to be
Okay.
pretty fun. No one's wearing their rivalry jerseys
No.
for this one though, which are horrendous. By
Not
the
a
way.
fan, huh?
They're just so
The
muted. It's
Patriots
just so
ones were the
blah.
Patriots ones are the best ones of the whole bunch there.
That's the one time in my life I'll say that Major League Baseball kicked the NFL's butt on that. It's like if their rivalry, be bold.
Yeah.
Like the whole concept is be bold, and they were all muted colors. They're all just gray, black. It's come on,
Yeah,
Show something, you know?
Broncos have the Titans.
Yes.
That's not going to be a good game.
Shouldn't be. I hope it's not a good game in my favor.
Thanks for coming by, bud. That was awesome.
great.
Appreciate it. We'll see you
so
guys
good.
later, all right?
Thanks for having us.
Scott Engen and Drew Trafton joining us here today. Scott doing his Hot Mic Fantasy Football Punishment. We appreciate that. We'll break. We come back. Tyler Kosel will join us from Fargo South. Bruins have a biggie tonight, or on Friday, excuse me. They take on Minot North. We'll preview that as our Wednesday morning extravaganza rolls on. We're back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic here on a Wednesday morning. Again, a reminder, we've got high school football coming up for you on Friday. Minot North and Fargo South. You'll see it live on WDAY Extra at 7. Also, we've got Barnesville and Pelican Rapids. Double dip coming up Friday night. Looking forward to those games as we head into this, well, officially week 3 of the high school football season. We mentioned that top game was South and Minot North. First time that they're going to come to this part of the region. Last year, of course, the Sentinels made it to the state semifinals, and they got a date with a Fargo South team that's coming off a big win on Friday night. Pleased to have their head coach, Tyler Kosel, join us on this Wednesday morning after the Bruins got into the win column for the first time in 2025 and ended a long losing streak after being winless in 2024. It's great to see you, bud. Congrats on the win. We were just visiting off air about just being back in the win column. What did that do confidence-wise, just emotionally wise for the team to get a win on Friday night?
Yeah, last year we were so young and we were in a lot of close football games and just didn't close it out. So we did a lot of different things in the offseason with just improving our compete level, doing a lot of things just back to fundamentals and basics. And it was great to see the kids go out, had a great offseason, and take care of business in Dickinson. They got a really good football team out there.
You have been doing this for a long time. Just how personally gratifying was it for you to get a win on Friday night?
Yeah, coming off last few years of having some success and things like that in years past. And last year we had a lot of small senior class and a lot of young kids having to step up and play. And it was just tough to see the kids put the work in for the week, do things the right way. And it came down to just a series of plays, which, football can be like that sometimes. So we just wanted to improve on what we're doing, play to play, communication level, a lot of those things. And just great to see our young group, and we still got a lot of young sophomores and juniors playing for us. But good to see them win and the excitement on their faces, a lot of hugs and things like that on Friday. So we're excited to move forward this year. We're learning from last year, but we're putting that aside. We got a new year.
How many guys, Tyler, you have that were in roles last year that are now in bigger roles, or just you were able to count on their experience from a year ago that helped on Friday night?
Yeah, last year towards the end of the year, on defense, we were only playing 2 seniors.
Wow.
So defensively especially, we have a lot of experience back. And then on the offensive side of the ball, a quarterback, a couple linemen, we're really playing for us. So the lumps we took last year should help pay some dividends this year. We were night and day football team. Made a lot of great explosive plays, and our kids were in the right spots at the right time. So it was good to see that they've taken coaching and improved. And you go from a 16-year-old to a 17-year-old or 15 to 16, there's a big growth just naturally for that.
Did you notice that even in the offseason when you do your camps? Like, that guy looks different, or he's much different than we saw in October.
Oh, 100%. Our strength and conditioning staff has done a great job in the offseason, and kids bought into other sports, playing basketball, going out for track, just doing the little things. Everything's paid off, and we had great turnout, great attendance all summer camp, and hopefully we can keep rolling, improve week to week, and see where the season goes.
What do you have if I'm going to have to spotlight a couple guys? I know you don't want to do that, but give me a couple guys that really, we're going to have to count on you. You're going to have to be a guy for us if we want to win football games this year.
Yeah, starting right off the bat, Henry Gray's a running back and a linebacker for us, and he's played a lot of downs for us over the years, played a little bit as a sophomore, but he finished with 5.5 tackles for loss on Friday and 2.5 sacks, recovered a fumble for a touchdown. So he's kind of a key piece, runs the ball hard, went for over 100 on the ground. So he's one that in the box that is doing a great job for us. And then we have very talented receivers on the outside. Amari Taylor's one that's still out right now, had an injury in basketball season. So he went for just under 1,000 last year receiving. And then the big dog we have is is Drew Kosel,
Yeah.
who went for 2 touchdowns on Friday and over 100. He's 6'7", big tight end receiver that can go get the football. So he's a nice weapon to have.
So this summer, I saw the tweet that came out from him that the University of Minnesota offered him a football scholarship. And I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't he just finish his sophomore year of high school? Where were you? When did you find out that went down?
Yeah, they came in the spring and wanted to see him for a little quick workout. And it was probably within the first 4 minutes of the workout, talking with their tight ends coach, he goes, yeah, I'm going to offer him. Because just little natural things that he was doing. I mean, he's got a huge frame and can go get the football. So his future is extremely bright. I mean, he's still young in a lot of aspects. I mean, only a junior, but man, he can make some plays, and I'm glad he's on our team. I'll just say that.
How did he handle that, Tyler? After this is a big deal for a guy that's 16 years old, a Division I, Big Ten school offered him a scholarship. How did that go?
Yeah, he was very shocked from the start, and kind of going in, just the casual conversations we're having with their staff. They knew they were very interested. He had a big sophomore year. He caught 8 touchdowns and did some things nice. But yeah, just how well he moves, and for being that size, and obviously the college coaches are looking down the road. You see a 6'7" frame to put some weight on too, and NDSU seeing that with his brother right now, that he's got a lot of great football ahead of him.
He's 2 inches taller than his brother, and his brother's a mountain. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yes, I mean, Reese being here his senior year, I think Drew caught him within October of the football season with height, and he's been surpassed him during basketball season.
Holy cow.
He's a big dog.
I want to talk about Reese in a second. Let's chat about your game you got here on Friday, which we'll have on television with Minot North, who had some great success last year. What do you know about this team that's coming in and what the challenges they're going to present?
Yeah, they're a really good physical football team. I mean, having pretty much their whole roster coming back, you can see dividends. They looked really good on film against Williston on Friday night, and very well coached. Coach Holman does a great job, and the staff he's got out there. So a lot of respect goes to them, and I'm glad we're getting this matchup early in the season. It's going to be a great test for our guys, and the physicality that we're going to have to play with throughout. So they pose a lot of good threats, good athletes, big, really good guys up front. So we're just getting ready. I better buckle the chin straps up and be ready to go on Friday night. So it's going to be a physical football game.
You know, we talked plenty this offseason and leading up to the start of the year about how 2A is different this year with Central Cass and Kindred in it. You've been in this now for a little bit. Describe the changing. Every year it seems like 2A is different. How you guys adjusted for that, and now for these schools to come in with a lot of hype and with a lot of talent that they're bringing with.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the level of football, even across the state of North Dakota, as you can see, is there's a lot of good football players and a lot of good football teams. And I know I played with Coach Butler and Coach Burgett in college, so I've known them for many, many years. And it was kind of getting to the point where numbers and everything like that were going, and it's like, shoot, we could potentially be playing each other. And I know with their programs, they've done such a good job that they'll fit in just fine. And the changing landscape's different. I know in 5 years from now, it's going to be different again. So, and it's going to be a year-to-year deal, and can't really control your schedule. Just go out who you're playing and do the best that you can for your group of kids.
Do you still hear either maybe from parents or people that huge Fargo South, like, why is South not in the top class? And how much do you hear that on maybe monthly, day-to-day basis, if at all?
Yeah, it's kind of been of an adjustment just with our numbers through our districts and seeing come up that are in our building at Carl Ben and through there, and little transient nature. By numbers, I mean, we're placed where we're at, but pride-wise, obviously, we talk about where we want to be.
Yeah.
And I know we feel confident with what we have kind of coming up the ranks, and our numbers and our school are getting bigger too, which has been great to see. So there's probably adjustments from year to year. We've had those conversations. I know with Mr. Beaton a lot of times, what's best for our kids. So I know a few times, especially last year, I mean,
right.
We really struggled. We were young. We didn't have a big senior class, and we knew that from the pandemic, where we didn't have a ton of seniors in our group. We knew that group was coming up, but hopefully things level out a little bit more and we can get back to competing where we need to be.
Would you want to play those teams again? Play Davies, play Cheyenne, play those teams again?
And you could see that with our schedule a few years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we played pretty much a split schedule.
Yep.
Looking at the end of the day, we had some injuries at the end of the year that added up, but that comes down to football. But we want to play those in-town rivalries for sure and play a lot of those teams, because that's where we'd like to be.
I got to ask here, we mentioned before we go on Reese Kessel, who I interviewed yesterday. Actually, we're going to do something with him coming up later this week. He got put on scholarship, got his first career reception last Saturday. What was that like to hear that news as his old coach?
Yeah, that was absolutely awesome. I have a couple of TVs set up in the basement. I saw him sub in, and I'm like, God, here we go, because I knew there was little rumblings that he could be a down the field threat. So great, he got the opportunity, went out and made the play. We're so proud of him. I know went to school as a walk-on, got a great opportunity, and he's worked his tail off. He's put a lot of weight on, and every time I talk to him or talk to a coach at NDSU, they have great things to say about him. So we're super excited to see him get the opportunities, and we hope he continues to make some big plays.
He was telling me, and maybe you shine a little bit more light on this, when he went to the Bison, I don't know if he was going to go to the Bison Fall camp or the spring or the summer camp and do it, and then ended up getting the attention of Matt Entz there. Can you tell us, to fill in the blanks on that story and how this all came about?
Yeah, because we had a lot of weapons. We ran the ball a little bit more when he was a junior, and we're like, this kid's going to be really good. He developed a lot in the off season and had a good track season. And they're like, he's a 6'5" kid running the hurdles and got to the state track meet and almost snuck into finals. And then they saw him just run around and move a little bit at camp right away, because he was on their radar. To like, I got a call, and right away they were like, we really like this kid. I think it was still Coach Roll at the time, and just said, we really like this kid. We want to extend a preferred walk-on and kept an eye on him. And he was tickled with that opportunity to just get a chance to play. I mean, kids in Fargo, they would love the opportunity to go play for him. And it's great to see that he's factoring into a role.
He told me, Polisek told me, that he's one of the 20 fastest guys on the team at 6'5". And what is he?
Yes.
I'll get his weight here. 6'5", 239. That's crazy.
Yeah, 240, yes. So he's always been able to move. And like I said, a little track background with that. He's a big hurdler, and he's just a tremendous athlete. So glad to see that he's getting opportunities, and he can go get the football too. So it's great to see.
I have not seen the weather forecast yet. Does it help you if you have the sun blaring in at 7 o'clock for kickoff? Is that good to blind the other team? You counting on that?
Well, we're up that north this week, so it'll be a little bit different. Our track is still under construction.
Oh, that's right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, we're on the road. We're going to be road warriors for a little bit. We'll play up north the next 2 weeks.
Are you guaranteed you'll be back home, though, sometime later this year?
Yeah, our homecoming game at the end of September will be
awesome.
Playing.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for the intel. Appreciate it. Good luck on Friday, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Hey, really appreciate it. Thanks, Dom.
There he goes, Tyler Kosel, head coach at Fargo South. They got Minot North coming up this weekend. Of course, you'll see the game live on Extra 7 o'clock, part of a double dip we got for with Barnesville and Pelican Rapids as well. We're overdue for a break. We got some breaking pro football news to share that relates to people back here they'll care about. We'll do that. We wrap up our first hour of Hot Mic right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Our thanks to Tyler Kosel for giving us a few minutes here. Mentioned some NFL news as we're on the doorstep of the season beginning tomorrow night in Philly with the Cowboys and the Eagles. Dallas made some news again, obviously last week with the large trade of Micah Parsons. This one not nearly as big, but big to us. Our guy Hunter Lipke is getting paid. Cowboys announced a 2-year, $7.5 million extension that'll keep Lipke in Dallas through 2027. Lipke, with this deal, becomes the third highest paid fullback by average annual salary. That's pretty darn good. He was set to make just over $1 million this year. With this new deal with the Cowboys, it's according to Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network, with this new deal with the Cowboys, Lipke will earn over $5 million in fully guaranteed money. That is awesome. Good for him. And this is a guy, I think the further he gets from playing here, we're going to even respect it more of how good he was. And I know he got dinged up a couple times, and obviously he missed the end of his final year in 2022. He didn't play the final 5 games, yet the Bison still made it to the championship. Think about that. Lipke missed. He got hurt in the next to last game of the 22 season against Southern Illinois, and they knew it was serious when it happened, that he missed the finale with UND then the second round game with Montana, the Samford game, the Word game, and then the championship with the Jacks. I don't know if that changes what happened against South Dakota State. Probably not. SDSU was just better. But there was a streak going that he had a touchdown, I want to say, in like 13 straight games, something crazy like that it's never going to be touched again. Or he had it was 13 touchdowns, like an 8-game stretch, going back to the national championship against Montana State, where he was named the MVP and he scored 3 times. My point is that I don't know if we fully appreciated how good he was. Like the semifinal with James Madison, where they used him as out of the backfield to catch passes. He was amazing in that game. The championship. The Arizona game. I know nobody saw it because it was at 10 o'clock at night. Go back and watch it. He was the best player on the field, and it wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. And if he doesn't get hurt, I mean, Jim Nagy was on, the guy who ran the Senior Bowl forever until he stepped away. He's going to be maybe a high day 3 pick. He told us that on the show. We're talking about memories of our show. He said that. And I remember, really? And then, of course, he got hurt. And that's why he fell as an undrafted free agent. And the Cowboys have loved him ever since. I mean, they gave him a pretty sizable deal as an undrafted free agent. He's turned that now into $5 million guaranteed. Let's go. Congratulations to the majestic beast, as he was known in Fargo. We'll break. We come back. Second hour, we'll begin. We'll look back at UND's opener with K-State and ahead to this week with Portland State. Tom Miller will join us from the Herald up in Grand Forks. It's coming up. We start hour 2 right after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 on this Wednesday morning, ready to rock and roll. Our thanks to Tyler Kosel for giving us a few minutes there from Fargo South to get ready for their game. We chatted about it, I know Monday, Sam did, and I hadn't had a whole chance to do it yet to reflect on the football opener for UND, other than UND fans give me a hard time about my prediction the other day. Fighting Hawks look great in their opener. Lost to Kansas State. I know they want the win. There's no moral victories that Eric Schmidt would talk about on Monday's press conference, but wanted to get some full reflection on that and then look ahead to a game. May not be a great judge either. This coming Saturday with Portland State, who hasn't scored a point yet in 2 football games. Tom Miller joins us for the Grand Forks Herald. Appropriate enough times on the show. We're honoring our 6-year anniversary of doing this. Tom's been a staple since we started doing it 6 years ago. He's always been affable to do the show, and we appreciate that. So I appreciate you doing this, bud, each and every time that I ask. So let's first start with, now we've had a few days, not from the initial reaction of what happened in Manhattan. You've had 4 or 5. Take us out of maybe the main takeaways you had out of the game Saturday in Manhattan.
I think my biggest takeaway is that, Jerry Kaminsky looked comfortable. The quarterback position was such a mystery. I feel like you couldn't learn any more out of practice. It was time to see what somebody could do in a game. And I thought Jerry Kaminsky being able to put together 5 drives of more than 70 yards, did really admirably and maybe settled that position for, and you never know in this era, but you could potentially say years, when you have a sophomore quarterback who showed that he could get it done in a lot of different ways. I thought he ran well. He made difficult throws. He made his easy throws. I know Eric Schmidt after the game talked about, maybe some ball placement could have been better to allow his wide receivers to make some moves upfield. But at that point, I think you're nitpicking a little bit when you're talking about where the quarterback position could have been. Because if he comes out and he struggles and he looks overwhelmed, boy, you're back to saying what the heck are you doing at quarterback? So I thought my biggest takeaway was Jerry Kaminsky looked like he could grab that thing and run with it a little bit.
So this is total 2020 hindsight here, Tom, but last year, obviously, Simon Rumfo won the job over Kaminsky and Trey Feeney. What was the progression in your mind from this time last year to now that they didn't see, the previous staff didn't see out of Kaminsky now that he's done it to win the job?
Yeah, I think, one of my biggest knocks on Jerry Kaminsky's fall camp a year ago was just was a lot of dropping back and just eating the ball as the play played out in front of him. I think it was maybe just moving too fast. The picture wasn't clear to him. I just didn't think that he looked comfortable or confident. And I think I would even say at this fall camp, I saw a lot of moments of just up and down play. And I would say ever since he's been labeled QB1, I think that maybe there's been a weight lifted off his shoulders. I feel like he's bouncing around practice a little bit more with a different level of confidence. This game should give him some comfortability. I just think maybe he's turned a little bit of a corner because that athleticism was always there. So, the arm strength, accuracy had just kind of been up and down. And I just thought in year one, everything was maybe just a little bit overwhelming in terms of the playbook and all that.
When you look at how this game played out, and again, I know there are no moral wins, just did the mood around the team be completely different leaving Manhattan? Did you get that sense Saturday night?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of confirmation. And for me, and maybe, you get a little pessimistic in the media a little bit, but I always just thought it was, easy to drink the Kool-Aid of a new coaching staff when you haven't lost any football games yet. And so that's another big takeaway is that you buy some more time with the buy-in here. You lose that game 59 donut, and all of a sudden all the messages you're hearing in practice hit a little different when maybe you had a huge setback like that. So I just think that for me, I was curious how this all would land, because like I say, the messages that Eric Schmidt was saying, I think he's saying a lot of the right things, but if you don't have a positive result, all of a sudden those messages have a harder time hitting home, I imagine. So, I don't know. Interesting now to see if they can maintain momentum, because obviously that was an issue in the previous regime.
I thought and I want to get to that in a second, seeing Sawyer Seidel, what he did, and again, last year was in flashes where he would just splash. He would do something like, whoa, and he did it there, and he was doing it against Kansas State. It's not like against Murray State. This is against Kansas State. That you got to find a way to get this guy the ball more, at least in my mind.
Yeah, I think a year ago you saw him used a little bit more. There wasn't gadget plays, but it was certainly going to get him to the outside. I think that was one of my takeaways from the Kansas State game is how many of his yards, his touchdowns in particular, that came between the tackles, because I thought that's why maybe we would see more Xavier Lay, is that you had Gavin Zebarth as a hammer, and you had Sawyer that you wanted to avoid between the tackles. And then I think maybe I leave this game saying maybe Sawyer Seidel can have a little bit more of a complete package allowed to him. If he can have that kind of production between the tackles, and you don't just have to use him in the screen game or the jet sweep game, you can use him like a traditional running back.
Got to give a shout out to our guy, Seth Anderson from Moorhead, Minnesota. He was the Missouri Valley Football Conference Offensive Lineman of the Week. Just on you take a full view of it, Tom, how did the offensive line look to you in game one?
Yeah, and I think UND's offensive line flew under the radar in a good way coming off of last year. They got a lot of great experience playing a year ahead of schedule because of those guys that transferred, like Hagan and Borut and Kilty. They got their opportunity, but UND didn't win enough games for those guys to collect their all-conference honors. And so when FBS vultures come calling, they didn't have any labels to their name. And so UND got to sneak by a little bit and maintain that roster. And I think it's a really talented offensive line, and they just didn't have the accolades. And if UND wins enough games this year, they could garner those accolades. But it was a solid group, and they all returned. And I think they go 7 deep. When Caleb Olson went out, when he got rolled up into, they bring in Aiden Teeter, who played a bunch last year. And if UND doesn't have him this week, Teeter's an experienced kid, and they've got a couple of those guys.
How are we looking on the flip side? I guess stuff that you would say, all right, that needs to be addressed going forward. What stands out to you on that other side?
On the defensive side?
Well, just overall, just your other takeaways. Okay, that was the positive. What was all right, these are things they have to address going forward.
I think it's the amount of snaps their top defenders got. Like, I just think it was kind of clear that you couldn't take Malachi McNeil off the field. You couldn't take Bennett Walker at corner off the field. I thought the defensive line looked good when they maybe weren't tired. I think maybe in the second half, in the third quarter, you start to see those chunk, Kansas State really started to run the football effectively, and I think some of that showcases the lack of depth at a few of those spots. I think that's what's going to be important this week is, if they're a 25-point favorite, now they were a 25-point underdog at Kansas State, so, maybe don't sit too comfortably. But if this game plays out the way that, it could, maybe this would be a great opportunity to start developing your twos and your threes, because I don't know if that's sustainable for X number of games to play those kind of snaps to your top guys.
And it's just, this is like from A to Z for their schedule. They played a Power 4 team. Now they may play the worst team in FCS football this week in Portland State, who has not scored a point in 2 games. I don't know if we're going to get a judge till maybe next week when they go to Missoula on how good this football team is.
Yeah, 100%. But that Missoula game to me has always been the circled one in terms of like, what's the path of this season? Does it really feel like kind of a rebuild situation here under Coach Schmidt, or can this be a team that all of a sudden the expectations change a little bit? And we talked about that last year a little bit, coming off the Iowa State game. I think there was a different feel about the defense. So I'm a little cautious to put too much stock into one game, of course. But I think that Montana game will tell us a lot more about, okay, does this team have more fight on the road than it did a year ago? That certainly looked to be the case. There was a different vibe. I've seen this story play out where UND's been tight at halftime. Nebraska was that way. Utah State was that way.
Yeah.
And that third quarter played out, and I thought, okay, I've seen this story. But for UND to fight back and take the lead late in the fourth quarter, I hadn't seen that. So is that an indication that this is a different era? I think that's what's to be learned in Missoula.
I'm interested as well. We talked about it when we had you on to preview the season. Wide receiver was another spot. Like, who's going to catch the ball? Did we get an answer on that Saturday night?
Yeah, I think there were some really great indications because I had those same questions. It felt like guys that I thought were ready to emerge, perhaps, that are still young, but like a Corey Ty and a Dang Dang. I felt like maybe I didn't see enough production at fall camp. And then the lights come on, and all of a sudden, Corey Ty has a little bit of a breakout, both between what he caught in the receiving game and what he provided in the jet sweep game. I thought you saw a flash from Christian Hoskins that he can be really dangerous. I'm especially curious, like a Portland State should be a great opportunity for a Christian Hoskins.
I agree. Yep.
So between Corey Ty, Christian Hoskins, and then Dang Dang, who has that 20-yard catch on the slant from Javance, which I thought was really interesting because Jerry Kaminsky's helmet comes off. Javance comes in the game. It's 2nd and 5. Very easy opportunity to just run the football with your backup quarterback. And they did exactly what Javance's strength is, and that's throwing the fastball slant to Dang Dang, who had to make a nice catch on that play. So, throughout fall camp, I thought B.J. Fleming was the one guy who gave them some production. And then for this game to play out the way it did, where Jerry really spread the ball out to like 12 guys, including their tight ends, who didn't even have their top starting tight end. I thought that maybe showed what we'll see a little bit more of under Jerry Kaminsky, maybe, is that he's going to spread it out.
UND with Christian Hoskins, a kid from Alexandria, came transfer from Minnesota. We saw him play here against the Spuds a couple times. Electric speed that he just never was able to get on the field at the University of Minnesota. That I was a guy I saw when UND got him. Like, okay, if they can use him right, that could be a burner in the offensive game plan. I know you wrote about this. Give us an update injury-wise heading into Portland State. Who is going to be in or out for the game with the Vikings?
Yeah, the tight end situation is probably the more dangerous one. Is Aiden Beheimer, the second-year transfer from Air Force, is probably their top pass-catching tight end. They'll play some of the tight ends that are a little bit more in the fullback role, like a Mason South. But in terms of the pass catcher, that's usually going to be Aiden Beheimer, and he was out on crutches in Manhattan. And Eric Schmidt said he's likely out this week, but that it's it seems that they're hopeful that these are short-term injuries. Sam Strandell has been out for a few weeks now with a leg injury, and he's kind of slowly working himself back in, but I don't think he's likely probably not relevant for a few weeks at least here. But all things considered, and Caleb Olson, I'm sorry, starting offensive lineman and captain, could be out again this week, but that is likely short-term as well. So all things considered, they're in a pretty good place health-wise. Coming off an FBS game, you never know.
Last thing before I let you go, and I appreciate the time as always, does this change, I guess, attitude this week around the football team? I mean, Potato Bowl is always going to be a big crowd. It's a night game. The Alaris is going to be packed. But has this changed to say, hey, maybe to pay attention to this team, maybe that we weren't going to, knowing the amount of changeover they had?
Yeah, I think for people who are maybe a little pessimistic about drinking the Kool-Aid, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like there's half the fan base that is just ready to dive in head first. And I feel like I was the one cautioning people, like, hey, the gains being made in recruiting, we'll see those in 2028, guys. Pump the brakes a little bit. But I think there's a little, that's obviously a juice of excitement. Like, okay,
yep.
Maybe this is a different era and a different vibe, and a new coach is brought in. A new set of expectations, and so we'll see if UND can maintain those. Program momentum has been hard in Grand Forks, and that's the challenge here. And maybe, like you said, I don't know if we learned that this week. Well, we'll learn it soon.
No, Portland State, at least their coach, Bruce Barnum, is an all-timer. Have you been out there, right? You made all the Big Sky trips. Can you give us?
Yeah, and you gotta, if you're gonna do the real Big Sky checklist, you gotta count both Portland State stadiums. So yeah, I've been to Providence Park in downtown Portland, where people come off the train there, and you see them come off the train, and they just kind of like, oh, there's a football game going on here, because nobody cares in downtown Portland. 7 people are there, and then. It's the other way is out of sight, out of mind too. Yep. Is playing in Hillsboro there, next to the Hillsboro Hops baseball park. Just a strange football setup in Portland. That's a tough place to win. Bruce Barnum's been great, great quote. But looks like they're in a tough place.
Oh, it's not good. It is. It's been bad for a while. I know you were out there, just to give people an example of. I don't know how they can win with just how they try to finance football, which they don't there. Great to see you, bud. Thanks so much, as always, for the time. Have a great week, and enjoy the game on Saturday, all right?
Absolutely. Congrats on the run on the Izzo show here.
Appreciate it, bud. Thanks so much for doing it. Tom Miller joins us from the Grand Forks Herald. Give us the lowdown on UND's game with Portland State coming up on Saturday night. Potato Bowl, 6 o'clock from the Alaris Center. We'll be back. The game will probably be done by the time we get back, but it ain't going to be. If it's a game, then we got more issues to talk about, because Portland State is bad. It's a game next week when they go to Missoula. That's the intriguing one for UND football. All right, we'll break. We come back. We're going to wrap things up. We got Bison Media Zone coming up here in about 15 minutes. A salute to us. We're going to do it one time because it's our birthday. We'll do that when we wrap up the show right after this. Ask Dave if he's willing to be mic'd up for a game that we broadcast. What do you think about that? Now that would be fantastic.
You got the cough button? You got the cough button?
We got a delay button. We can make
delay. I don't know all my media terms. Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Let's do it. What are you asking me for? I'll go with you, man. Don't ask me. I'll go with. Okay. Come on.
So can you please put this out that Dom Izzo and Grant Olson need 2 tickets to the Twins or to the Timberwolves game on Wednesday
night. Is this breaking news in our show? What is that? Maddie's by the elevator here.
Or they get down there, they come back 2 hours later, and they get in the van. They go, "Hey, coach, you took us to a nude beach." I said, "I did not."
And look who she's hugging. She's not hugging me. We just got married. She's hugging you. Look at. Come on. Look at that.
I mean, it was because of that video you sent, John. That really was.
Dom
knew the lady.
Are you even in
the Courtney said the same thing.
What do you want to do when you're older? And I said, be an NFL football player. And I drew a picture of, I think it was Peyton Manning. And she had sent me that. And I just really, reflected on how bad I've wanted this opportunity.
How are you doing?
Rodgers playing his game. I'll come to grips with how good he does or how bad he does.
Anyone who prefers mint in their ice cream has no business calling a Klondike bar atrocious. Bam! That's it. Email winner of the day already.
Is Charleston by the water?
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea.
You've not done any American history lessons at all? That is just a step of what we've done just this year. That's not even everything. I could go way back, but we didn't have enough time for that today. Plus, after that, it gets a little self-congratulatory after that. But that's just a snippet of what we've been doing. We try to have fun and be some serious as well every day from 9 to 11. And I wrote down, and I'm not going to do an Academy Awards speech here because we got to go, but there's a handful of people I need to thank because they need to hear it for their support of doing our show. And then I have 2 trivia questions for Eric, who's been doing this since 2022. Eric's been the longest tenured guy. I haven't run out of here yet in the 3+ years he's been doing the show. Our first is to Josh Rohr and to Stacey Anderson for believing in the show and championing the show and making sure that they would support it in a way that how we want to do it. Whether it's here in studio or taking the show out on the road, they have said they've said no, yes, but they've never said whoa. You know, they've said let go, push it as fast as you can. If we can't do it, let's try and do it a different way. So I always appreciate that. To all of our production staff, and there's too many guys to name that have worked on it from the very beginning. My first producer, the late, great Dave Ryan, who I miss tremendously, who started us when we were on the radio. He took the very first phone call, which appropriately enough was from my dad, to start our show. And I miss him. I think about him often when we do this, especially when it gets near the time when we made the transition over to TV. Eric, obviously, in back, who has been our main director, producer of the show since, when did you take over? It was March, April of 2022. I don't think he knew what the heck he was getting into. And I ask a lot of him, and he does a great job. Kyle Strecker, I don't know if he's back from Charleston, does a great job. Brody, who has a great job on our show. Justin Hawley, who gives us some great video from time to time, who gave us the Sam coming off the elevator bit. Maddie, who does all of our social media, does a tremendous job. Without him, we don't have a show. You guys see me out here looking like a fool or talking like a fool for 2 hours a day, but without them, we don't do this every day. You know, we got this award earlier this year. I think that validates what we've been doing, and just it keeps getting bigger, and I hope better. And that's what we're striving for going forward. All right, big man, I have 2 questions for you here to try and stump you. By the way, did you appreciate you knew that was coming, right? That we were going to show that from your camera debut back there in our montage?
I had a feeling that one was going to be
Who would you say now, not counting our normal regular guests, who has had the most appearances on our show? Who's been on the most? Not our weekly guests. Those don't count. Who do you think's been on the most?
Oh, this one's easy. You talk about it all the time. Grant Olson.
It's not Grant Olson.
No?
No, it's not Gio. Gio's in the top 5, but it's not Grant.
Okay, well, at least I was close. I could have swore one time told him he was on the most.
He was on the first one we did on television, but he's not the most.
Oh, man, now you got me thinking.
It's a local guest in town. That's all I can give you.
It's a local guest.
We may have to give him an award next time he's on.
Oh. You're really stumping me here because now I was told I wasn't gonna have to think today.
It's Feeney. Kevin Feeney has
really?
been on the most. Yes. Feeney has been on, if I counted this right, 47 times, which is over 6 years. We're averaging about 8 appearances a season. So there you go.
What's Gio at?
Gio is at 41.
Oh, I was close.
Yes. Gio is at 41. And, of course, nothing beats the hat appearance that he had when Amy was still playing golf. So there you go. But in all seriousness, thank you to everybody. It's a blast to do this. I mean, we started doing it and COVID hit. We were doing 2 hours of this every day and we had nothing going on. And after we got through that, I remember saying, if we can do this, then everything else is gravy. And it has been. You guys have made my dad's segment the most popular thing we do. And I'm not going to go down that road because I'll get emotional about it, but it is by far, he made him a star. Every time he comes out here, people say, "You're Don Izzo's dad." We love seeing it on TV, and that's also one of my favorite parts of doing this. So thank you to everybody.
We have some new stuff coming for your dad too, by the way.
Really?
Some new we got rid of our old graphics for your dad's picks and made something a little better.
Oh boy!
Our guy Kyle Strucker upstairs took care of that.
Did
for
that?
me.
Well, Kyle always.
I have a vision, and he makes it come true.
Awesome!
So.
That's fantastic. So we look forward to that coming up on Friday. All right, let's do some what to watch here before we get out of here. Our thanks to Northwestern Mutual as well. They believe in us. They've sponsored our show, and we appreciate Derek Dinger and those guys for believing in us to sponsor the show. All right, we got the Twins tonight is just purely like accident watching. Like how many people are going to be in the stands tonight? That's why we got it on here. 6:30 on Twins TV. U.S. Open, one of the quarterfinals. Good tennis going on, 6 o'clock on ESPN. And yes, on the 6-year anniversary, we're of course mentioning the Mets. The Mets are red hot. They got the Tigers today coming up at noon on MLB Network. My guy Soto is just crushing it right now. They go for a sweep of the first-place Tigers this afternoon. We got to roll. Thanks to our guest today, to Tom Miller, to Tyler Kosel, to Drew Trafton, our guy Scott Engen for doing his on-air apology. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. The Bison Media Zone is coming up in just a few minutes. We'll see you everybody back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.